Welcome to All Stocks Index, a video series that breaks down the financial performance of every publicly traded company. In this video, we look at Uber's financial results for Q3 of 2024. Uber was founded in March 2009, headquartered in San Francisco, California. Current CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. Number of employees, 30,400. Market cap is $127 billion. Current stock price is $60. Uber belongs to a consumer discretionary sector in a business services industry. Uber Technologies is a multinational transportation company that provides ride-hailing services, courier services, food delivery, and freight transport. Let's analyze Uber's financial performance for Q3 by breaking down the 10Q report. Let's begin with the income statement. Sale of products and services produces revenue, and after paying off all expenses, the company is left with net profit. In Q3, 57% of Uber's revenue came from mobility segment and 31% from the delivery segment and 12% from freight. Uber's quarterly revenue has been growing for the last 2 years at an average rate of 5%. In the last quarter, Uber's revenue reached a record of $11.2 billion. Cost of goods or services sold was 60%. Reported gross profit was over $4.4 billion, of which 76% was spent on operating expenses. Specifically, selling and marketing was over $1 billion. Research and development was a $774 million expense. General and administrative were around $630 million. Uber spent around the same amount on R&D per quarter in the past 2 years, but at the same time that cost decreased as a percentage of the total revenue. Furthermore, operating expenses saw a steady decline as well. Operating income has been increasing. It reached the highest level in the last quarter. Accounting for tax and other net expenses, we get a breakdown of all Uber's expenditures. Thus, after subtracting all cost, we are left with a net profit of $2.6 billion. Uber's net profit turned positive in Q4 of 2022, but had a couple of setbacks while finally reaching the highest level in the last quarter. Profit margin, which is a ratio of net profit to total revenue, was 23.4%. Profit margins have been increasing over the last 2 years, making Q4 the most profitable. Earnings per share, a ratio of net profit to shares outstanding, was $1.21 in Q3. It was the highest earnings Uber recorded in the past 2 years. Increasing revenue was the main driver behind the rising earnings, even though Uber issued a few thousand of additional shares. PE is a ratio of company's share price to its earnings. It was about 61 at the time of the reporting. Turning our attention to the balance sheet, total assets equal total liabilities plus equity. Uber holds a total of over $47 billion in assets. The largest portions is goodwill at $8 billion and investments at $7.9 billion. Total liabilities are lower at $30.5 billion. A big chunk is long-term debt at around $11 billion. Let's examine Uber's ability to pay its short-term debt obligations. First, the cash ratio. We take the most liquid assets and divide by current liabilities. In Q3 of 2024, this ratio was around 0.92. It appears that Uber has always had less cash on hand than total current liabilities. However, it appears they are about to change that. Furthermore, current ratio of 1.41 indicates that current assets exceed current liabilities. This makes Uber a safe investment. Checking the leverage ratio of total debt to total assets, we notice that Uber has 4 times more assets than debt. Therefore, Uber can easily cover its credit obligations. On the other hand, Uber has been building up its equity and reducing its debt, so its debt-to-equity ratio finally turned favorable below 1. In Q3 of 2024, Uber had the highest return on assets at 5.5%. Similarly, return on equity was the highest of the last 2 years. However, it has dipped negative in Q1 of each of the previous years. Breaking down the cash flow from operating activities, net earnings attributed to the large portion of cash inflow in Q3. Also, accrued insurance reserves contributed over $2 billion. On the investing side, Uber buys and sells billions of dollars in marketable securities. Due to these actions, their investing activity was negatively impacted by over $4.5 billion. Financial activity mostly involved issuance and repayment of loans and notes, as well as repurchase of common stock. So, does Uber have cash? Strictly cash, Uber has about $7 billion. If we add investments, that amount goes up to $18 billion. Uber has plenty of debt, so subtracting it from cash and cash equivalent amount leaves the company with $4.8 billion in total cash. Investors and analysts typically look at the company's free cash flows, which is calculated by subtracting capital expenditures from operating cash flows. Uber had a good history of positive free cash flow. In fact, in the last quarter, the company generated the highest free cash flow of $2.1 billion. Estimating free cash flows into the future and discounting them to present value, we can approximate the company's intrinsic value and derive its current share price. We calculate $68 a share. According to this model, Uber is trading at a discount. Uber has many ambitious plans with flying cars and autonomous mobility and delivery, so we have a lot to look forward to with this company. That's all for now on Uber. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. We plan to provide similar content for all publicly traded companies.